Hello and welcome to Building Brand Advocacy. My name is Paul Archer and I'm incredibly excited today to be joined by Stephan Lukac. Stephan, how you doing?
I'm doing great this morning. Thanks.
So Stephan, you are Director of Marketing at INDOCHINO. Now, a lot of people will know about the brand, but for those who don't, do you want to give us a bit of a summary?
Of course. Made to measure suit company. I joined it about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years now. And what was just kind of attractive about the company is kind of this great synergy between technology and artistry, so to speak, right? That notion of creating a suit, but doing so in a fashion that just felt really kind of sophisticated. Again, the notion is you go into one of our showrooms, our style guide can there guide you through, the product selection. Are you looking for this type of product, this type of product? These are the styles. And then they have an iPad right, next to them, and they're entering in your preferences, what you're looking for, and kind of the customizations. Tons of customizations that are available, from the buttons that you use to the way that the buttons work and so forth. So like that ability to customize and personalize your clothes through technology, I thought was fascinating. Again, the moment that we have it, within the app, that's instantly kind of sent to our factory at the end of the day, factory that will then laser cut everything, tailor, and then 2 to 3 weeks later, you get a box from a shipping company with your suit in it. Again, it needs to be probably ironed, pressed, and if there are any type of details that need to be taken care of, like, we're more than happy to kind of take care of those to ensure for that optimal fit.
That's remarkable that can happen. And
Yeah.
Whereabouts are the factories?
So factories are based out of China. So we have one there, and most of our logistics will go primarily out of Cincinnati, where that's our kind of main type of distribution hub. But we're also kind of building capabilities here within Canada. With COVID and so forth, like every retailer, had our challenges during the kind of COVID type of period. But I think we're definitely over that hump. And though we don't kind of advertise it too much, we're seeing 2 to 3 weeks as the typical type of delivery time. It's the exceptions, unfortunately. You've got 1 or 2 that take 4 to 6 weeks, and so we really want to ensure an optimal experience for everybody. So we say 4 to 6, but great when you're surprised and all of a sudden your suit arrives 2 weeks later and you're like, wow, this is cool. A custom made suit in 2 weeks at my doorstep. That's amazing.
Yeah, and that's going to take people's breath away, isn't it? And delivering that happiness at that moment and surprising and delight, right?
Yeah.
Please carry on.
No. One thing that I absolutely love are unboxing type of videos. So we work with some kind of influencers in the past, and just the unboxing, either around wedding time or just a particular type of event, the excitement about opening it up and seeing that, looking at the personalization such as the monogram, and you're like, oh my god, this is amazing. So that is really, really exciting to see that happen.
Well, I'm keen definitely to jump into a little bit about that and how you're getting the word out there. But beforehand, I want to learn a little bit about you and actually how you came to be there. I mean, I can see you have quite an interesting academic background. I mean, how does someone who studies anthropology get into becoming a marketing director? I'd love to know the journey.
Yeah. In the words of my father, what the F are you going to do with an anthropology degree? Was his exact wording, and at the time it was like, okay, that there isn't a path forward for an anthropology, but at the time I saw, what, anthropology is about studying culture, and brands are our modern day culture. Who and what you are as a person is defined by the clothes that you wear, the car that you drive, the places that you frequent. That is your personal type of brand and what you try to project. And so modern brand building has many of the philosophies, tenets around anthropological type of studies. So we take ethnographies, for example, is a clear type of study created within the anthropology type of domain. And you translate that to kind of modern day advertising marketing. That's what focus groups are, right? It's understanding the nuances of the purchase process, the consideration process, learning about that. And a lot of the theory and so forth is rooted in anthropology. And so, while at the time I didn't see the connection, as I'm progressing through my career from, studying and then finding an internship, doing kind of the advertising type of realm, I started to kind of see those connections. I moved from advertising from Boston to Mexico, spent 2 years down there, then up to Montreal to do my MBA. All along, I saw really good connections between the theory that I got from anthropology and the practice of creating ads and creating that story specifically around the brand.
Amazing. And so, given your almost academic approach to it, how have you seen the idea and the concept of a brand and brand itself evolve over the past 10, 15 years, but particularly interested in the kind of the social world that we live in compared to one that was, a little bit more centralized previously?
I think what's fascinating is that brand building and media are really interlocked, right? The two, and it's always that fascinating component when you're in a campaign. The creative team is like, well, where's the media going to be? And the media team is like, well, what's the concept here? Is it the cart? Is it the horse? What kind of goes first? And I think you need to come up with that larger type of vision, and then create that space for each of those two type of entities. What's the media space that you want to kind of resound in, and what's the creative space that you want? Media in large part will inform and provide those nuances to the creative team in form of insights, again, driven by data and all information that kind of says, hey, this type of creative works better than that type of creative. Again, how has brand changed? I think how has our media usage changed over the years? And I was fortunate that at the very, very start at Arnold Worldwide began in the department around interactive marketing. That was the first foray into developing banners. I mean, I remember doing Volkswagen banners way back at 2001, 2002, when IAB standards weren't totally established, and there were crazy sizes going back and forth, and that was really the first foray into developing banners and developing kind of that type of experience. Since then, Facebook came into the picture. Instagram came into the picture. TikTok is there. Our TV viewing experience has totally changed, and as a result, brand and the way that you talk about the brand has changed and evolved. Again, as a result of our media usage times.
And so, I mean, definitely this switch that's gone from the not owned, the bought media to the owned media, your own sort of platform, your fan group, fan pages, remember them? And the groups, Facebook groups, to more of the earned channels that you're now working through multiple different people, fans, customers, influencers, advocates. What do you think that it's become harder for brands or easier for brands to exist and to grow in this new landscape?
I think now there are just more balls in the air that you have to juggle, right? In the past, it was quite singular. It's like, okay, let's put money towards TV and then throw a little bit in print and so forth. Now, there's so many places to focus between your paid media, earned media, and owned media. It does at the start seem insurmountable. Where do I begin? What's the most effective? Where do you put your time and energy? And our approach is a little bit of everything, right? It's control the message where you can within the paid domain, continue to grow and evolve your earned type of media, and owned media, especially in the landscape of signal loss in the paid space, means that your owned media is incredibly valuable. So how do you continue to build that and grow that? And it's really a balance of all of those kind of at the same time. I would not prioritize one over the other, right? I think that the paid element has critical elements, but so too you need to kind of put that attention in your earned type of efforts. Are you creating a space that will allow and enable your advocates, your influencers to easily kind of learn about your products and talk about your products, and is that as streamlined as possible.
I love that. And when you were growing Indochino, was there one thing that really stood out above the others?
For us, we've had really great success within the influencer slash brand advocate space around sports. They're between our partnerships that we've done over the years, from New York Yankees to Red Sox to football stars, basketball stars, across the board. We found a really, really good niche within the sports type of domain. We will continue to explore that, really, because I think that the one nuance or insight that we found is that when somebody, let's take Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, recently went from kind of small football to larger football leagues, and it's that moment when you're being drafted. It's that moment when you're going from the local college to kind of the big leagues. Well, that particular moment, you're looking for a symbol. You're looking for something that shows that confidence and that, hey, now you're in the big leagues. And what better way to do that than to put on a suit, to have something customized and personalized? And we've worked really hard to kind of capture that moment and amplify that through much of our partnership and advocacy type of efforts. So I think on, again, that pivotal moment in your life, when you're moving from one stage to another, how can we be part of that? To ensure that you have that confidence, you have that look, that feel that says, "Hey, this person's different. This person is now changed, and they're looking great in the process."
So how do you get in front of these guys? So presumably you have some paid partnerships, but you can't just give someone a bespoke suit, right? You've got to get the sizes and all of those things. How do you get people's attention to get some of the, maybe not the paid partnerships, which those are great, but quite expensive, but the gifting area between? Is that even possible in your industry?
Yeah, I think it's our partnership team led by Ali do a fantastic job of that. He has tons of contacts within the industry, to such a degree that we get occasional kind of sports stars that will reach out to us and saying, "Hey, I'm looking for a suit. Can you guys kind of hook me up?" and so forth. So we've gotten to the point where the brand is well recognized. It's spoken about within kind of those particular circles that, hey, when they're looking for a suit for an event, the big events are weddings. I'm getting married. Can you help us out here? And in instances like that, we're more than happy to kind of help out. The other instance is again around draft, is a great type of opportunity, and to ensure that we're front and center, top of mind of kind of the athletes, to consider us.
And has the change in rules around college football, college sports generally, and sponsorship allowed a lot of opportunity for you?
To a degree, the moment that it goes into the paid type of domain, all recently prices and so forth have just been astronomical. So I think what we're looking for is something that can meet kind of the regulations, and at the same time works from the player perspective. And really it is, I'd call it that art and science, right? The art is understanding the contacts, understanding what works, and the science is a heavy type of attribution. For each one of our purchases, we'll have a coupon associated with that. That's what allows us to one, track it, and two, ensure that it's at a free cost, reduced cost, whatever the agreement is. And then if we look at these in aggregate, you get a really good sense of what's the trends that we see, what worked and what didn't work, and then where we can try to apply a media value to that. Okay, there were 20 million impressions as a result of this. There were 10 million impressions as a result of that. Again, impressions is a finicky metric, but at least it gives us a metric, and then combining that with the sales data, all of a sudden you can start to kind of develop trends and see that, hey, hockey, maybe I'm just making this up. Hockey maybe isn't working as well for us, but NBA looks awesome, and let's continue, right? it's not the case, but just an example where we can kind of delineate and understand, hey, what channels, sports approaches are working and which ones aren't.
That's fantastic. And I think that's one of the areas that most people are really interested to learn what other brands are doing is actually how do you get the ROI in this? How do you calculate it? One of the ways that I've been fascinated to see quite a lot of brands do recently is valuing not the reach, but the actual engagements, the number of likes or comments on whichever platform it is, and then using the same proxy for how much they spend on a cost per click to say, well, that would have cost us 20 grand if we spent it with Meta, then this is actually not a bad transaction. And when you start wrapping that data around things, you get different areas because you can get the revenue tracking through the couponing, but also you can get the earned media value that you probably would have had to pay for to just increase that brand awareness as well.
Yep, no, that's it exactly. I think, with much of digital marketing, it's tons of metrics. And so it's combing through those to really identify which are the ones of value, where do we want to focus on, and how can we use that as a way to differentiate ourselves and identify what works and what doesn't.
And in Indochino, one of the topics I'm fascinated by is how brands build communities with their customers. Has that been something that has played into you? I mean, you have 100,000 or more Instagram followers and some incredibly passionate customers out there. How does that word of mouth between customers work in your world? And how is that something you're able to track? Is it something you can invest in like you can with the larger advocates?
A little bit of both, right? The business model is very much towards paid media, right? That's easy to measure, but I think inherent in much of kind of the team and the organization is that what I call the ineffable, those things that you can't measure as well. And so there is that focus on that understanding that, hey, that is going to drive top of funnel awareness. It is going to drive those brand advocates that will continue to come back. The measurability of that is, challenging to a degree. And so we look at those metrics that we can control, from your likes, engagements, and so forth, reported on each of the channels. Coupons are a great way to do that. And then the other element that we use is, how did you hear about us? Meaning that as you're going through the conversion funnel, whether it's on the appointments, that's kind of our lead gen, or actually purchasing a suit, we ask the question, how did you hear about us? And all of those together, and part of our attribution efforts bring all of those together to really help us see those particular type of nuances and understand, okay, this works better than another. Another area that we've had really good emphasis on and has worked quite well is reviews, right? Too many times reviews are kind of overlooked, but it's a big focus for us to tie those reviews back to each one of the showrooms and to the individual that is kind of being reviewed. How can we correct? So if it's a negative review, great. How do we learn from that and make sure that it's better next time? And for those reviews that we did a great job, great. What can we do to amplify those? What can we do to really showcase those as much as possible? And at least for now, we're keeping those within the platform, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Google, but the opportunity there is to continue to amplify and grow those a little bit further.
So not dissimilar to reviews, how does user-generated content play into it? Because buying a suit off the internet that's bespoke, but I'm sure there's a lot of trust that you need to build up. You mentioned the unboxing with some of the celebrities, but how does that tie into, and generally how do you manage to cross that trust barrier of getting someone to commit to getting a suit made somewhere on the other side of the world? It must be a really interesting challenge for you.
I think it's a combination of all of these, right? It's the customer journey is not just, oh, I need a suit. Let me go to Google, search for suit and find it. There's everything that happens before, right? And so what we want to ensure is that from the moment of that initial type of discovery or need, then exploration, that we're there and top of mind. And so I think, just as we discussed, it's where do you place your emphasis? Is it paid media? Is it earned media? Is it owned media? It's everything, because that's where the customer journey kind of happens. Again, let's kind of trace. Weddings is a great example of that. I have a wedding's three months away. What do I do? Well, we'll ensure that throughout many of the places where people might be, our media, our messaging, our videos are there and top of mind. So we might be, heavily present on Instagram when it comes to kind of wedding type of materials. So they learn about us. All of a sudden, they start to look at the reviews and one of their local type of locations. They see, oh, seems like they have this great type of expertise around weddings. Next, they might be served up one of our ads or one of our partnerships that we have with kind of wedding influencers, again on Instagram or Facebook, and they learn a little bit more about that. Great, now I know about the brand. Let me do a branded search. Go through kind of that process, all the way to kind of the onboarding and kind of post purchase with our customers. Every single one of those touch points, we try to then kind of take it back to that core element of how do we personalize and how do we create that unique experience for our customers.
Love that. It's the whole game, isn't it? It's not just one channel. It's the entire journey that customers go on, and then get them to tell other customers and start that journey again.
Yeah.
So now we've talked about a lot of great things here. What would you have changed? Do you have any regrets or any learnings that you learned really hard that you would do differently if you had your time again?
I think one challenge in brand building is, and especially at retail, is the inherent challenge of short-term versus longer-term brand building. And short-term is, both myself and much of the team are accountable to driving the business. So every single day we look at yesterday's revenue. So, this morning I'm just refreshing our dashboard. How did we do? And if we did well, awesome, let's continue doing that. If we didn't, great, what do we do to kind of push that revenue? Last year, there was a big focus on promotional type of nature. X percentage off, get this off, it's very much of lowest cost type of approach. And while that works shorter term, right? You say X percentage off and all of a sudden everybody's really interested. You see your conversion rate go up and, high five the team. This is awesome. The challenge is that slowly nips away at your brand building type of efforts. And we did a lot of that last year. I'd say partly as a result of COVID, right? We were very much in that mode, that approach of we need to rebuild the business. And we need to rebuild the business. I don't want to say at any cost, but that was kind of priority number one. What that did is that it enabled us this year to then really focus on building the brand and focus on profitability, right? And so we've downplayed that kind of promotional nature, pushed the brand much more, and saw 360 come spring of having beautiful brand elements and from our photo shoot for spring, like that was front and center. Many of our emails and much of what we kind of talk about is very much educational, to show people about the fashion side of Indochino, provide that advice, create kind of that expertise around suiting, and we've seen that kind of build up all this year, and now we're at a really, really good place where that brand building, that education, that I'd call it fashion first type of approach is definitely present. And we find a balance with that from a promotional type of nature. That balance is always tricky for retailers, and it is a constant challenge of like, you need to bring in revenue right now versus, okay, we need to build the brand. And last year, I think it was veering a little bit too much towards the promo side. And this year is kind of the correction, and we're definitely much more in the direction that we're looking for.
That's brilliant that you can bring it back as well. I think it's one of those things that quite a few brands that I know, as soon as COVID hit, it was like, we're not going to hit our quarter, we'll have to do a massive sale. And it's like, whoa, people just aren't buying, just not buying anything, regardless of what the price is. And I guess with yours, I presume probably was quite challenging with the fact that people weren't going to work and they weren't getting married and things like that. My favorite quote from another Vancouverite, I'm not sure that's what the name is, of Chip Wilson and Lululemon, says every dollar you discount takes $10 off your market cap, because of the brand building side of things. And I do believe that there is something that we as marketers, the more we can empower marketers to build brands and to yes, we're going to miss those goals, but discounting is not the answer. What is the answer is such a powerful effect when it comes to as you're saying about the actual brand and the power of it as it goes from there. So tell me what's next for you guys. Sounds like it's been a great year. Where are you heading?
Well, one area that we're really excited about is women's wear. The whole notion that we're doing kind of made to measure suits for men kind of finished this summer, and now we're kind of opening up the opportunity to do custom suits for women as well. We're starting in kind of select type of locations, ensuring that the process, the logistics of it are working, and we're creating amazing suits that work equally well for women as they do for men, and kind of the plan is to start to slowly roll that out. I'd say mostly next year, and gain greater traction on that front. The markets that we are running those in, super excited, right? Like the fact that women can now go get custom made suits for their particular type of either body types or kind of customizations is something that isn't that easy to find in kind of most markets. So that's kind of one element that we're really excited. Again, it's a whole new market that's opened up for us, and opportunities for growth there are absolutely phenomenal. But we want to approach it slowly, carefully, and develop learnings from that, to then be able to scale that successfully starting next year.
Fantastic. So a couple of rapid fire questions for you. I mean, they're rapid questions. You can be as long as you want with your answer. But so, what marketing related advice would you give your 21-year-old self?
I'd say there is don't be afraid to fail. I think I was too conservative kind of back in the past. This whole notion of making a mistake, like make those mistakes. Try different things, test, learn. It's only through failure that you're really going to kind of make a difference and improve the brand, improve kind of the experience. Failure in brands is tricky, right? Because it's so easy to fall. It's so easy to kind of make a big type of mistake. And so it's finding those careful, calculated places where you can try, make potential type of errors, learn from those, and scale that before it kind of becomes too big. Again, our women's wear is a great example of that. We're looking to kind of make those potential type of errors, learn from that, and make it better for next time.
Brilliant. So what counterintuitives have you learned along the way? By which I mean those things that your gut thinks it should be this, but it actually turned out to be that.
I think there's so many. I just fascinating how what you think is going to work for customers or so forth just doesn't resonate, or kind of vice versa. Everywhere from, hey, let's call this our end of the summer sale, and have this the same type of offer. That end of the season sale did nothing. It's the same offer, but the name just didn't resonate. But you call it something like flash sale or happy hour, which our customers are familiar with, that resonated much more. Feels very counterintuitive. You think it's offer led, and no, it really is a combination. It's the name of kind of that campaign plus the offer. The two of them combined seem to kind of resonate much better than others. Another kind of learning or kind of hypothesis that we had around outerwear is that outerwear is kind of region specific. And so we did a lot of kind of regional type of tests for outerwear. So rain outerwear versus warmer type of outerwear, and kind of coincided each one of those towards geographies, and saw that there wasn't kind of strong correlation between those two. Right? You would think that, okay, the New York and kind of Chicago areas, a warmer type of outerwear is kind of more effective, and no, we didn't see much difference or uptake from those versus others. So great, let's provide all of those options to our customers, let them pick and choose, and give them the most amount of options available there.
Fantastic. Now, finally, who in the world of brand building would you most like to take out for lunch or dinner and a few drinks? You can choose.
Yeah. One person, probably not a big name, but Jordan Sakira. I worked with him in the past when I was at TD, and he did a lot of work for kind of brand building. Now he kind of heads up much of the kind of IKEA work here in Canada, and their recent type of work. Sorry, let me check the name here. Bring Home to Life. I thought it was absolutely beautiful. I'll share a link afterwards, and it's the whole notion around how much of your home is created about the story of your life is created around the furniture and how you kind of build your home around that. It's a beautiful TV spot. Around the immigrant type of experience. I'm an immigrant in Canada, even though don't look it, don't kind of seem it, and I've been here for a while. That immigrant experience still resonates with me, right? And to see that and to build your life and that building around furniture, I think is something that one resonates a lot with many people, and IKEA was able to capture that so well, and the particular insights around that resonate really, really well. And so I'd love to sit down with Jordan. It's like, hey, what is the research that you did that developed the insights that then inform that particular type of kind of brand positioning and that TV spot? And it's those connections that I think I'd love to kind of tease out more of. How did you do the research that then developed those insights that then kind of manifested itself in that particular type of spot? I'd love to learn, love to kind of tease out and understand, because I think for all brand builders, that is that magic. That is that finding out that insight that then serves as that brand platform that then you can see it in each one of the brand elements, whether it's a print ad that an out of home ad that you see as you drive by, or a TV commercial that you see on CTV, or just a TikTok that you fly past. If all of those are connected and have a real strong underlying insight that drives them, I'm fascinated by that, and understanding how did you get there. The stories around that are usually fascinating, are 9 times out of 10, at least what I found, based on this, hey, I didn't realize this, but our research all of a sudden pulled out this insight that was unique, that we wrap the concept around, and all of a sudden becomes much stronger as a result of that.
And they're such a great brand, aren't they?
Yeah.
In so many ways, such a great business. And yeah, I'd love to meet him too. Maybe we'll have to get him on the show.
Good. No,
answer all those questions.
Happy to pass his link and contact info. He's a really, really remarkable individual, and where they are right now, I think makes really good sense for the Canadian type of market, for where and how they want to kind of continue moving that brand. And what's interesting about IKEA is that they've created a platform that is very much country specific, and fascinating how within that country specific, it can be amplified within that country. And if that insight is strong enough to make it international, then it can easily move to different type of locations. And so it's a notion of localize it. But if that localization is relevant to other type of countries, then it's something, an asset that has legs and can be extended elsewhere.
Stephan, thank you so much for your time. This has been a great conversation. I've loved it. I've learned a lot, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thanks a lot.
That's great, Paul. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I encourage all our listeners, please feel free to visit INDOCHINO.com. Would love to help you suit up for your next opportunity.
Brilliant. So I'm definitely going to do that. Thanks
Great.
a lot. Cool. That was great. Really loved that. Yeah, fascinating.
Really nice work, guys. That was great.
That's great.
It was really cool. Yeah, so we're all right. We're okay on time as well. That was like I planned it, rather than just have a chat, which is actually what happened.
Very efficient here, Paul. It's like, oh wow, we're going through these really quickly.
Yeah, which we did then. No, that was really cool. Yeah, I appreciate doing this. I actually didn't introduce myself at the beginning, which I feel really rude about. But I think obviously it's those things. So I just geek out on this stuff, and I run a company that does brand advocacy and advocate marketing with tons of brands around the world, and it's just this world that we live in that you were alluding to about the shift in dynamics, in the way that the media, that the media platform, the earn piece, everything there is just always changing and super dynamic, and it's particularly over the past couple of years has been. So learning from brands that are innovating like you guys is exactly what we're about.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. I sent a few links here if you want to include those. One is INDOCHINO, our purpose and values. I know that was one of the questions, and
oh, actually, should we let's ask that one now, if you don't mind? Yeah. Because I wanted to get that in, and I was kicking myself a little bit when I got to the final things. I was like, I didn't ask that question. So actually, I realized it doesn't matter. We're as long as you've got 5 minutes to just cover that.
That's totally fine.
Okay, cool. Well, let's kick off with it then, because it's important to me as well. So tell me, Stephan, what are INDOCHINO's values? What's the purpose, and how does that play into the way that you build the business?
Nice. So our core values, a few of them, I'll list them: customer inspired, innovative, collaborate and empower, accountable, data driven, and product proud. Long kind of list there, I totally acknowledge, but I think out of those, I think each group within INDOCHINO will gravitate towards one or the other. For me, it's very much customer inspired. We look to our customer and get inspiration from them, whether it's developing content. We listen mostly through the sales team, as well as kind of customer feedback. What are the looks? What are the trends that are important to our customers, and ensure that the product kind of reflects that. And so too our advertising and our communication approach that kind of resonates on that one. Data driven, I think, is absolutely fascinating, because too many times in organizations, there are a lot of opinions, and you might have the case of kind of the hippo that resonates. Here we are heavily data driven, and from the tools that we have and the data at our disposal, there's a lot there. And I can't tell you how many times in those discussions that when somebody surfaces that data, that really helps to push forward a particular type of idea, thought, or initiative, and to be based on that data that we know is sound, that we know is based on our historicals. That just helps provide greater credence and greater kind of support around that particular type of idea. Perhaps the last kind of value that I love is collaborate and empower. That's more on an internal perspective, but just kind of creating that culture of listening to our team members, our employees, empowering them to kind of make these decisions. Right before kind of this call, I'm going through our Black Friday type of plan with kind of our acquisition lead, and just love how he has taken that, made it his own. Really kind of found that cross-channel type of approach, and his role is challenging. He takes care of acquisition and retention at the same time. And it's like, wow, those are two very separate domains. Most organizations, we kind of keep those as separate groups. He runs both together, and in doing that, now we have these great synergies. So as we acquire a new customer, we ensure that those retention efforts are synced up and have really, really good synergies between those two. And so too, the data that we develop from our retention efforts also feed into our acquisition efforts. Again, we spoke about first-party data. To have that all within one team, see some great type of synergies, and it really is, a testament of the value around collaborating and empowering people that helps and makes that happen.
That's fantastic. And is there anything that you do internally that's a little bit wild and out there, and to make sure that you bake these values in?
I think one is the notion around innovation. Coming out of last week, we did quite a few tests around segmentation, and as we're surfacing the results, saying, oh, this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong. So I would say, I spoke to our CEO yesterday and failed. I totally acknowledge that we failed on several of those, but we learned so much from that, Paul, right? In that failure comes that opportunity to improve. And now we know what was wrong. What do we do to make it better so that next week we then iterate, we then make those corrections, make those adjustments. And if we can do that faster, learn, surface, improve, and move forward without any hard feelings, without any like, oh my God, this is terrible, and so forth. Yes, sales were a little bit down, totally acknowledge my mea culpa, so to speak, but the learnings that are coming out of this are probably more beneficial, so that next week we can then find the right type of segmentation, the right type of approach to bring in those sales the right way.
That's fantastic. Cool. Yeah. I'm really glad we asked that question as well. So that's
likewise.
really cool. Yeah, that was it. Do you have any questions for me, by the way? Israel, what would you like? Anything you'd like to know?
No, I took a look at kind of your profile here, Paul, and that kind of gave me a good sense of you, your company, and kind of the work that you're doing, as well as some of the older type of podcasts, and yeah, I think the whole notion around brand advocacy is fascinating. It's more than just influencers. It's all the pieces that kind of connect and yeah, it is that interconnected type of web, so to speak, that I think is absolutely critical. And so it's something that we're continuously exploring, growing, and seeing how and where do we evolve. So always I really appreciate opportunities like this to kind of touch base and yeah, to share some of the examples that we've done both in my career as well as in Indochino.
Yeah, it's been brilliant, and the make sure those things turn off. But we see it so many times. It's this idea of like every brand has like a network of different people who could be advocates, and it could be the customer who's got 5 followers and his mum, but still is very influential to those 5 people, to the person who is on the top draft of the NBA and everything like that, as well as what's really been interesting about our learning. We've just done quite a lot of beauty brands in the past year, which is not an area I have a huge amount of expertise in, but the sort of makeup artists and hairdressers. And so we're doing a thing with like Tresemme, across the states, that where all of the hairdressers who they it's a professionals brand. It always has been. It's been around for years, right? So it's been quite sort of diminished, but this isn't going out. It's still being recorded. But they're like trying to get 5,000 hairdressers who you would trust. If your hairdresser say, by the way, you should buy Tresemme, and you go, oh, okay, that's what you should do. And so it's just an area where these popping up. Charlotte Tilbury have like 20,000 makeup artists around the world that actually were the only people selling the makeup during COVID, because they were out of work basically, and then actually as an income stream they started becoming advocates in it, and becoming affiliate takers of promoting it to their own small but still very trusted basis. So yeah, mapping this out for each brand, we go in and right, who have you got, who sort of ties in there, like who's the biggest opportunity you're not working with, you are working with. Yeah, so it's really exciting. I took for it.
And I feel it's more effective, right? I have 4 daughters, and so they're just getting into the makeup type of realm, and I can't tell you the efficacy of kind of those tutorials, how to do this, how to do that. Like they gravitate towards that, and that creates much better brand affinity versus the pre-rolls, mid-rolls, commercials, and so forth. I mean, like I ask them, and what commercial did you see? I don't know, but I can tell you all about Sephora and what they're doing about this, putting on this particular type of makeup. So it's clear that educational element, finding that right type of niche within brand advocates that can really put your brand front and center, almost has more value than much of that paid media element to a degree, right? There is that unconscious of you see the ad, you see the ad, you see the ad. Yes, it kind of sticks with you. But I think, again, that theme that we spoke about, when you do both, paid media plus that earned type, that is what will really help to differentiate brands, help to kind of create that awareness, consideration, and eventual purchase.
Exactly, and we put user-generated content in the paid, and then you amplify the advocates, you get the full mix of it. Yeah, the logic behind it, and we've done some research and looked at many other bits of research, is the conversion rate from someone who is referred, and I mean referred in the broadest spectrum, including an advocate, to compared to an ad. When you see it, those people convert three more times more likely to convert. And so for a cost per acquisition, it may be similar, but the conversion rate is then much, much higher. And then the lifetime value is twice as much, which sounds a little bit too good to be true, but it does make sense, because if you trust a person, and a lot of influencer marketing is, I'm being paid to pretend to like a product, which is fine, it gets reach, but when you then start to look a little bit deeper, the conversion rates are never quite as good as they would be, compared to someone who's a genuine fan of it. So like when you were saying about having those stars that came to you, though I really want a suit from Indochino, they're basically, they are already fans and they want to wear it, and then when they talk about it, you just know it. And I don't know why we know it, but having, if you grow up on the internet, if you're a digital native or social native as your daughters would be, they just know it, and that just rubs off and they buy it. And so it's like, how do you get that authenticity? How do you find those people who are existing fans and then leverage the hell out of them, give them a platform, make them more than they are?
Yep, that's it exactly.
Oh, fantastic. Amazing. Well, have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate doing this, and I'm really excited to get this out there.
Likewise. Thanks again.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.